Hello, my name is Guy Sellwood and I work for ProSell Learning Limited. Today I'd like to talk to you about how lifestyle learning can improve and accelerate new hire performance. So I want to put yourself in the mind of someone who's just joined a new organisation. What might be going through your mind? What might be, bothering you, concerning you in any way? Well, I guess first of all, you've been through an interview process. You may have been through a number of assessments and tests to see if you're viable, and you've invested quite a bit of time in this organisation. So one of the things you might be concerned about is, am I going to get a good return from my own investment? Is this going to be worth my while? Is this organisation going to deliver back on its promises, the things that it said it will offer and provide? And have I actually got the support I need to get up and running with this new role as quickly as I would like, as quickly as the organisation would like, and obviously in terms of meeting any initial objectives to do that? So at the end of the day, I might actually be thinking after a couple of months, should I stay or should I go? So as an organisation, how could you maybe respond to some of those concerns, some of those worries that your new hires might have? First of all, what is onboarding? Many people might call it induction. But onboarding has two key components. One is a mechanical aspect. So what does the new hire need to know in order to get into the building? What does the new hire need to do to get involved in the security processes? Do they have their new laptop or PC? And do they have their network passwords and so on to use the system? So some mechanical aspects. The other side of it, though, is what we kind of call the soft side of onboarding. Do they have the requisite skills, knowledge and understanding of company culture that's going to enable them to be able to work effectively within the organisation they've joined? And so onboarding or induction really should be taking care of both the mechanical and the soft side of how we help people join an organisation. So if you're still not quite sure whether an investment in your new hire community is worthwhile, just think for a moment about what the costs are that you incur when you lose somebody who's just joined your organisation. So first of all, you will have spent time developing the individual that's joined, or the group of individuals. So you'll have spent time and money in that process. You'll have also spent money on recruitment fees. You'll have had management involved in the interviewing process. You'll have also had management involved in the development process. And what about the impact on those who are perhaps left behind when others move on? The impact on morale. What's wrong with this place if people are moving on? Do I have to carry their target as well as mine? There may be some issues around how the rest of the team feel. So there are a number of costs, both soft and hard, that you need to consider as part of your investment then to ensure that you retain those people you want to retain and get a return from your recruitment. And finally, the other very interesting piece of research was that when people were provided with a formal onboarding program, the satisfaction that the person who'd hired them had in their performance went up by 20%. So by providing that formal support mechanism, you actually got not just a better performance, but actually had a rise in the satisfaction of the hiring process. So if you want to not only accelerate the time it takes to get people up to speed and performing satisfactorily within your organisation, but also retain them within your business and get a good return, we believe you need to create what we call a learning lifestyle. So what do we mean by lifestyle? The interests, opinions, behaviours and behavioural orientations of an individual group or a culture. So in other words, it's what people do naturally in their everyday life. And if we can create a situation where your new hires are learning as part of their everyday world, then we'll succeed. How might we go about providing a culture and an environment that supports this learning lifestyle? So I just want to talk you through a number of things we believe are important ingredients to that. The first one is, when do you start to help people become oriented to your organisation? Is it when they turn up on their first day and they come through your door? Or perhaps do you invest some time helping them prepare before they arrive? So we call it pre-boarding your new hires. Pre-flight information, if you like, giving people access to information that will help them start to become oriented to your organisation before they walk through the door. So establishing a pattern of behaviour that will lead them through the door better informed, better prepared for their first day and more inclined to continue to learn thereon. Secondly, think about all of the information that people need to acquire in these first 3 or 4 months. Your organisation, probably like most, has more information available than probably is required. The biggest challenge for most people is Where do I find it? So find a way to make that information and support easy to find. So we often talk about creating an environment into which the essential information is contained, that people can be pointed towards and oriented to very quickly, that enables them to access that information that is so valuable to them. So create a resource that makes access to that vital information simple and easy for those people who are just joining your organisation. The next thing to consider is what drives our lifestyle and our behaviours. Well, very often it'll be driven by notions of success or enjoyment. So how can you build a pathway for people to follow that enables them to gain success quickly? So break your onboarding pathway down by thinking about what are the successful milestones that people need to go through. So for a new salesperson, clearly it might be a first sale, it might be a first month at a certain percentage of target, and so forth. And then think, okay, what do people need to know in order to achieve that first milestone? So they get a quick return from what they've learnt and they start to get success quickly, which will therefore, of course, reinforce the lifestyle we want to establish. So if we want to establish certain patterns of behaviour, think about one of the biggest drivers of repeating behaviour is when we achieve success or satisfaction. So how can you break down the pathway that somebody is going through in their first 3 months such that you have milestones for people to achieve, and build the learning around those milestones so that people get success very quickly and keep repeating the learning they need to undertake. So if you have established the milestones, the points of success, for example, a salesperson, it might be a first sale, then link the content, the knowledge, the skills they need to those milestones, and only work on what they need to know to achieve that milestone. Break the content down into something that is meaningful and accessible and easy to use. And then finally, think about creating daily habits. So having thought about chunking down your content to align with milestones, layer it and sequence it again in such a way that people have small pieces of learning to do on a daily basis. So again, we reinforce the habitual nature of learning as part of their daily lifestyle. The next thing to think about is the role of coaching with your new hires. You'll know if you've watched any of our other videos that we are keen proponents and advocates of the role of coaching in organisations. And in the new hire onboarding process, coaching has a tremendous role to play, because not only can you use it to provide skills and knowledge development, but you can also use it to understand and support people as they build their confidence in your organisation. So how can you engage your first line managers to support those people who are coming into your organisation to help them really gain confidence and be successful as quickly as possible? And we have extensive customer-based research material to back up our claim for the power of coaching in organisations, which we'd be more than happy to share with you. And so if managers have a role in supporting your new hires, think also about the role of peer support. Create some social networks for your new hires to collaborate and communicate with one another such that they can support one another through the onboarding process. There are many tools available now that enable social networking within organisations, but think about setting it up specifically and primarily for those who are new to your organisation. So finally, consider how new technologies can support you to create this learning lifestyle. We've been able to assist organisations gain great success with their onboarding program through a blended approach using technology and existing resources. The role of a portal can help you get a better overview and insight into the progress of your new hire community. You can use portal technology also to forge relationships, not just between the peers who are going through the onboarding process, but also between the manager and their new hires. You can use this type of technology, of course, to organise, provide access to and share the resources that are so valuable. And finally, of course, you can use new technologies to create and share and manage beautiful content that is compelling, informative and powerful. And so in summary, the key things you can do to create a lifestyle learning environment to accelerate the onboarding process and ensure a higher level of retention of those people that are valuable to your organisation would include early instigation of a learning habit, pre-board your new hires. Make access to information convenient and easy. Provide goals which are related to success and align your content with those goals. Chunk, sequence and layer that content such that people have daily learning habits that they can follow through. Provide encouragement and support through the coaching process. Provide a social environment that enables your new hires to talk to others about their concerns, their fears and their successes such that they can support one another. And finally, provide a way to reward and recognise the progress that your new hires are making and celebrate that as regularly as you can. I hope you've enjoyed my walkthrough of how lifestyle learning can improve and accelerate new hire performance. If you'd like to discuss anything that I've spoken about in this video further, please get in touch.